Hey everyone, this is Elenbaas from Nightlight Astrology. Today we are going to take a look at the major transits of the month of March and explore some of the archetypal significations coming in the month ahead. Of course, we have an eclipse coming up in March, so things are getting spicy in our new year here because we've had a bunch of transits already that have been pretty powerful. But now we're heading into eclipses, and things always get interesting during eclipse season. So we'll start unpacking that today, as well as taking a look at all of the other major transits of March. Yeah, so that's our goal for today. Before we get into it, don't forget to like and subscribe. You can tickle, smash, press, caress the like button. And we'd love to hear from you. What are you looking forward to in this month of March? Which transits do you have your eye on? It's always interesting to hear what you guys are thinking about as we go into a new month. You can find a transcript of today's talk or any of my talks on the website, which is nightlightastrology.com. A couple of things I want to promote today. One, of course, is the upcoming, well, here we go. Here's the Nightlight Astrology page. I'm going to take you over there to our new live events, tab. So when you go onto the home page, you'll see live events right there. If you go to the events tab, you can click on live talks as well. And when you click on that, it'll take you over to our live events page where you'll see the next talk in our series on the outer planets and love, sex, and relationships is happening on March 14th from 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern Time. It's a webinar called Neptune in Love. We started off with Pluto in Love. And in this next webinar, we'll be looking specifically at the significations that Neptune brings, whether in your natal chart or by transit, when involved in love and relationships or sexuality overall. It's $20 to register. If you can't make it live, we send you a recording afterwards, so you can be sure to watch it on your own time. And when you scroll down, you'll see that in April, we're looking at Uranus in Love to round out the series. And at the very bottom, you'll also notice a link to purchase the replay of Pluto in Love if you missed it. You'll also notice that on our Nightlight Astrology page, there is a new tab called Shop. When you go there, you are going to find, by the time you guys get there, I record these a little bit in advance. So by the time that you go and click on this, this will be filled out even more. Right now, we have access to the exclusive release of my book, one chapter at a time in audio and text form before it hits the shelves, which once it's finished, will probably take, honestly, the publishing process, it can take up to another year. So it's cool if you want to read along with and see the book that I'm writing as it's coming out. Chapter by chapter. That's the Oracle Speaks. You can also notice that the Pluto in Love talk is there. And shortly, we will also have uploaded the 2023 masterclasses from last year. You can buy those as modules or as a package. Those are on sale through the Kickstarter. So we're representing those in a new shop that we have with content that will be uploaded more regularly. And a lot of new stuff I'm going to be putting in there too, which I'll tell you about in time. So anyway, that's number one that I wanted to tell you about. The second thing that I'm excited to promote, which I will be promoting between now and April 24th, in fact, is Ashley's returning to work. So those of you who have followed me for a while probably know that my wife, Ashley, is a clinical herbalist. She has a master's degree in clinical herbal medicine, and she has been a practitioner and a teacher of herbal medicine for a long time. And she was on maternity leave for a couple of years, just being a mom and taking a little break to focus on that before their kids are now in school. So she's returning to work. And her apprenticeship, which she ran for many years and took thousands of people through, is back. So for some of you, this will be brand new. You may not have even known that Ashley did this, but you can go over to skyhouseherbs.com and you can click on, under the courses tab, go to the Herbal Foundations Apprenticeship, and you will see that her program is back online and beginning again in April. So really excited about this. It's a 12-month program that takes you in very deeply into herbal medicine and the foundations that you need to become an herbalist. And also just developing, if this is a hobby of yours, if it's something you want to develop for yourself, people take it for the purpose of, personal growth, hobby, or professional interest. So you can check out all that the course includes and the course modules. There is an incredible wealth of material in this program. They are of this exact same kind of high quality as my programs. One of the reasons I fell in love with Ashley is because we're both teachers and we just think alike when it comes to how we structure and shape educational programs. And I couldn't recommend her program more highly. And at the end, that herbal apprenticeship starts April 24th, and there's a sale that you can get right now where if you are like an early bird registrant, you can get save quite a bit. Of course, there's payment plans too, and we do have need-based options like all of my programs do, try to make it really affordable for people. But at the end of my videos going forward, I'm kind of doing a little bit lengthier intro today, but typically I'll be plugging Ashley's program. And then at the end of every video, all the way through April, you'll find that if you want to learn more about the course, we've added on a little interview with Ashley at the end of my talks so that if you want, you can stick around and learn more about it. I'll be interviewing her and she'll be telling you more about the herbal apprenticeship program that she runs. So, okay. Now, let's go ahead and get into our astrology for the month of March. So first and foremost, let's put up the real-time clock so we can actually look at these transits. And I'm going to roll this into March. And we're going to start with March 3rd. You know, it's not like this month has so many transits as much as there are several that are very potent. So you have fewer major transits this month and more of those kind of like an eclipse later in the month, right? A major new moon that starts eclipse season and some really dynamic transits. But the list of transits it's not as many transits as there were in February that are of like major concern or interest. There's just sort of a logjam of them in January and February. March, they thin out a little bit, but they're more powerful in my opinion, especially given that, again, we're entering eclipse season. So anyway, one of the first transits that we start with, and I need my epic pen. There you are. All right. So the transit that really gets us started here is the Venus's square to Uranus. So the month starts off with Venus in Aquarius, hitting that square to Uranus in Taurus. Now, Venus's square to Uranus here is really significant because we have Jupiter and Uranus coming closer and closer together. By April 20th, they are conjoining in Venus's sign. We have been talking at length about the Aquarius-Taurus connection, which tends to be about new ideals, plans, blueprints, visions, paradigms that support pleasure, earthly embodiment, stability, peace, and enjoyment in the material world. So whether it's something you're doing for the sake of your bodily health or your physical health or your sensual enjoyment of the world, there is a kind of revolution happening, and it's all focused on Venus right now. It is a Venusian kind of revolution, a Venusian breakthrough that is in the process of developing. Venus in Aquarius is moving through the square to Uranus and Taurus and amplifying the idea that we are trying to change the blueprint. The plans on the archetypal level and how they are seeking a new kind of physical or earthly embodiment is amplified by this Venus-Uranus dynamic that starts the month. So pay attention to that, in addition to all the normal things that Venus and Uranus can do, like being a little eccentric or inventive or rebellious around love, sex, relationships, pleasure, art, beauty. Sometimes Venus-Uranus is an interesting tattoo, a new hairdo, shaving your head. It can be kind of fun, and it invites us to put a new costume on, or it can also emphasize themes like freedom and independence, or even feminism and resistance toward anything that suppresses or denies Venus. Like, I'm not going to take this anymore. I need to be free, or I need to be emancipated. This kind of Venus-Uranus dynamic can bring up those classic Venus-Uranus themes, in addition to the sort of redesigning of the blueprint that combines the airy side of Venus with the earthy side of Taurus. All right, well, transit number 2 takes us a little further into March, and this is going to be the conjunction of Mercury and Neptune. Now, what's nice about this is that we're getting closer to the time in which Mercury will be appearing as an evening star, moving out of its debility. And that happens, by the way, March 9th. So I'm just going to put this up really quick. On March 9th, 2 days later, after Mercury conjoins Neptune, it will enter Aries, at which point, watch what happens. And I'll even just push this forward a tiny bit more. You can see that by this point, now Mercury is about 10 degrees away from the sun. It's out of its fall. It's out of its detriment. It's into Aries. And immediately it's, about only about 5 days maybe from appearing as the evening star. So we're seeing Mercury in the process of recovering from some pretty choppy and difficult spaces that Mercury occupied as it went through Pisces. And we've talked about that at length when we talked about the cazimi. I mean, go back a little bit and you have this kind of triple conjunction around February 28th. That's challenging, right? That was a challenging spot. The rebirth moment features Mercury and Saturn on the 28th of February. We talked about that last week. So, yeah, it's good to see that Mercury's kind of getting out of the troubled waters and that can, make a god that's supposed to be helping us on some levels with intelligibility, rationality, and intellectual or mental clarity. When that god is going through these kind of spacey, otherworldly, romantic, emotional, and mystical, foggy spaces of Pisces with Neptune, well, it's just sort of like, it's good to see that clarity is coming back and that Mercury's recovering. But as Mercury crosses through the conjunction on the 7th, or it's the 8th, Mercury conjoins Neptune right on the 8th. So the 8th of March into the 9th is this really fascinating transition for Mercury, where, the boundaryless, imaginative, non-ordinary states of consciousness, issues with groundedness, overwhelm mentally or emotionally, all of those things can be really heightened, which may also be of spiritual value or psychological value. Again, it's not like this is bad per se, but Mercury's debilitated and going through the vortex of Neptune. So just kind of be on the lookout for that, followed shortly after by Mercury entering Aries, where things become a lot clearer. It's Mercury's host is Mars in air sign Aquarius, and we're really seeing a kind of a Mercury that is coming out of the soup. Now, on March 9th, the other thing that happens is Mars will square Uranus, and this actually plays an important role. Well, I drew a square, but we need an arrow. Here's Mars squaring Uranus, and this is going to happen on the 9th. So as Mercury enters Aries, Mars's sign, and starts gaining that sort of heat and fire and clarity, especially because Mercury's host Mars will be in an air sign like Aquarius, but Mars is squaring Uranus. So we have this very powerful, blast off from Mars to Uranus, which is defiant and original. It is action oriented. It's do something and do it yesterday. Press the gas pedal. It seeks revolution. It seeks newness and inventiveness, and it seeks to move beyond what has been accomplished previously. You will see record-setting performances in sports, people dropping 80 points in a basketball game right around Mars-Uranus. And, we frankly, we have seen this earlier when Mars was in Capricorn and trining Uranus. There were a bunch of record-setting performances in the NBA. You may see some of those repeating, but Mars square Uranus can also bring up things like accidents and injuries, and can also be, just a sign of sort of that like swashbuckling bravado that thinks that it is beyond any limits or rules or restrictions, and then it gets a little like karmic consequence for pushing too hard or too fast. But at the same time, Mars's square with Uranus, given that it's following on the heels of Venus's square, is probably seeking to enact some of the changes that are ultimately very Venusian. And it's sort of pushing along the agenda of Jupiter's upcoming conjunction with Uranus in the sign of Taurus. So again, ideals that really are serving a Taurian, Venusian, earthy purpose. And Mars is just sort of pushing them along or speeding the process somehow. So that's Mars square Uranus on the 9th. Now, on the 10th, we then get a new moon. So this is like the busiest, really one of the busiest portions of the month, this little window here we're looking at from like the 8th through the 11th. Right around the 10th here, we get, this is Sunday, March 10th, we get the new moon in Pisces. And that new moon in Pisces is sort of sandwiched between Saturn and Neptune. So it's a bit of a melancholic, romantic moon cycle that's coming. Very emotional, very, very Venusian. And we can see that because on the very next day after the new moon, Venus will enter Pisces. We just roll that forward and you'll see Venus kind of entering Pisces there. by the 11th into the 12th. So between the 10th and the 12th, make it a little bit broader. Between the 10th and the 12th of March, get the new moon in the sign of Jupiter, but the exaltation of Venus. And then immediately Venus enters her exaltation and is in her own bound. So very strong Venus that comes through. And remember how much of Venus has been present these first couple months of the year. It is just Venus's show. So the dignities point to another cycle that has a lot to say on behalf of Venus. Now, this one's very watery, and I feel like it's asking us to look at what is most complicated for us emotionally when it comes to this, the Venusian designs that are informing the march of progress that Jupiter and Uranus present in Taurus. It's sort of like, all of this emphasis on Pisces is saying, well, it's, Taurus's vision is always very solid and peaceful and enjoyable and wealthy and sort of luxurious. And, it's easy, but it's stable. With all this Pisces energy is sort of like reminding us that there's a whole complicated realm of human emotions and desires and fantasies and longings. And they're always going to play a role. Whatever structure you build, there should be something like a fountain in the middle where there's, moving water, and where there's, fish swimming in circles, and there's things that glitter and things that are not, that beauty needs to be included in ways that are moving and not so stable and fixed, So, it's funny, like a lot of the times when you see like some kind of futuristic film, right? And in the film, that maybe a protagonist or whatever is living in a space where everything is like very minimalistic. It's just crystal clear and beautiful and very controlled and serene, and everything feels sort of like programmed and beautiful and stable. And they're, everything's just like they're one-touch little buttons, and you don't see clutter in those pictures, right? You don't see chaos. And you often get the feeling that there's something a little inhuman about it. Well, remember, everything that's been informing the upcoming Jupiter-Uranus conjunction in Taurus has fixity in mind, and it's been informed by a lot of energy coming from Aquarius, which is another fixed sign that is airy and idealistic. Pisces is not like that. Pisces is the mess. Like if you have kids and you try to create that nice little sci-fi looking, pristine, controlled, beautiful environment, you know very well that put a couple of kids in there, that'll shit right in the swimming pool. There's no chance it's going to hold up. But Pisces is like that insofar as Pisces reminds us that the universe is a teeming sort of cauldron of chaos and confusion and longing and desire and fantasy and beauty and so the sublime, and it's sort of terrible. Pisces is a little bit of a restless or tortured sign. It's funny. I mentioned that Pisces was a little bit of a restless, tortured sign, and someone sent me a long message. I said it in some video. I don't know, maybe it was Saturn moving into Pisces or something. And someone sent me a long video saying that because I described Pisces in part using the word tortured, that I needed an aura cleansing. And of course, I think they were going to offer me the aura cleansing too. But but I just thought, no, you and your aura cleansing can live in the sci-fi world where everything is pristine and controlled, and I'll live in a world that includes words like tortured, right? Like, not because I look around seeking it, but because I'm not stupid enough to think that it's not included in what is, right? There are spaces that cause us or create the need to wrestle with life, with existence, with pain, with impermanence, and with beauty. Right? And longing and desire and things that sparkle and glitter that are so ethereal and otherworldly in their beauty, but somehow they're here, little gems hiding all around us. Pisces is like this. There's so much in the cauldron of Pisces. You can't exclude or limit it or take it to the Akashic record car wash or whatever you want to do. So anyway, the point here is that we have this powerful new moon in Pisces in Venus's power, followed by Venus entering her own bound and her own exaltation. We have a cycle ahead of us that is going to be yes, all of the fixed ideals of beauty that we're looking at right now. But what about the tumultuousness? What about the chaos? What about the realm of human relationships that are dynamic and fluid and changing all around us? How do you incorporate and include the way in which nature needs change and flow and dynamism And it flies in the face of the idea that beauty should be stable and perfect. All right, so that's the moon cycle that's coming in. You have to kind of reconcile these themes with so much fixed energy. Now, on the 17th, the same story continues because we're going to get the sun conjoining Neptune. And this is really important because this is very chthonic. I don't know if you guys know that word, but it's sort of, it's sort of the chthonic realm sort of refers to the idea of the universe as an ocean teeming with sea monsters and mermaids and a sense of what is creative and fertile, but also sort of wild and horrifying at times. You've got sirens, you've got mermaids, you've got sea serpents, you have beautiful whales, dolphins that speak the language from other planets. But this is like the sun. It's really important because the sun is about to enter Aries, where then we enter into a very powerful eclipse window in Aries with Mercury retrograde in Aries, a whole bunch of planets moving through Aries, and ultimately ushering us toward the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction in Taurus. We need this chaos to keep us real, to hold us a little bit accountable, to include within our vision of what we're about to, blast off with in trying to create. We need a little vision of what is ungrounded, what is beyond our grasp, what can't be planned for, what can't be accounted for in our nice little garden paradise that we're trying to create. Right? So there's room for emotional surprise in this month of March. It's very, very powerful, like interlude that Pisces presents us with. And don't forget that the sign of Pisces in general, whether it's the Sun-Neptune conjunction, the new moon, Venus entering, all of these Piscean themes happen in a sign that has to do, it's a double-bodied sign, ruled by Jupiter, and it has to do with bringing us across the bridge from the dark side of the zodiac into the light side of the zodiac, which is not to say, the dark side is bad and it's nothing like that, but it's going from a yin space on from Libra through Pisces to the yang space of the zodiac, yang space from Aries to Virgo. In that space, we move into a space of creating things. It's like spring. So, symbolically speaking, it's all about productivity and activity and cross-pollination. And we say action becomes really paramount. But coming forth into that realm of action and youthfulness and sort of springtime, we need the encounter with the unconscious, with the superconscious, with the oceanic, with the chthonic. So it's a very romantic and otherworldly encounter that the sun has with Neptune, re-emphasizing this kind of Piscean liminal space that we're going through as we're, again, seeking to create this kind of Taurian breakthrough in the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction of April. So anyway, just little tidbits here about processing all of the Pisces energy that constitutes really most of the month of March. But anyway, on the 19th, then the sun enters Aries. We get our moment of the spring equinox. Now that is, zodiacally speaking, a symbolic moment that is not dependent upon which hemisphere you live in. As an astronomical phenomenon, of course it is, but not as a zodiacal one. As a zodiacal phenomenon, we're really just talking about the sun entering a space of tremendous initiation, the initiation of new plans, ideas. Aries is inceptional. It starts things. Well, we've been in a place of planning, scheming, idealizing, and now we're into the space where all of those plans that we've been developing, especially, remember, Venusian, Taurian plans, now it's full on. It's game on, like, let's go. On the 21st, Venus will conjoin Saturn, again, giving us a little bit of that Piscean gut check. You not so fast, not too blindly, not unconsciously, not without having to look very carefully at the difficult space that Venus and Saturn present, a space where we have to wrestle with some things that are, deeper and could feel to us like frustrations that are holding us back. But if we look at them maturely, are actually refining so that what we create isn't too immature and impulsive. So there's a great maturing, refining, deepening, wisening, especially on the emotional level, that Venus conjoined Saturn presents us with on the 21st. And there's that Pisces energy again, just sort of checking us, because all the Aries energy coming through, the Jupiter, Uranus, and Taurus, again, fueled by so much of the Aquarius energy, very idealistic, very easy to just run off to the races with new things without having to address subplots or more unconscious, complicated material that Pisces presents us with. Anyway, then March 22nd, Mars enters Pisces. So again, the ruler of all this energy in Aries, especially even a Mercury retrograde, an upcoming eclipse. Now we've got Mars in Pisces saying, well, it better be intelligent emotionally. It better be able to understand nuances and subtleties. It can't just be off to the races with big, bold visions that have no emotional depth, that have no spiritual depth. So, okay, so we get a little bit of a gut check from Mars entering Pisces. And then on the 25th, now it's eclipse season. So if we push this forward just a tiny bit, we'll have a lunar eclipse in the sign of Libra. And wouldn't you know it, that happens to be in Venus's sign. So we have a Venus-ruled eclipse. And where is Venus? Venus is in Pisces, right? So we got this kind of loaded stellium in Pisces. Now notice, like, again, where is everything heading? Everything is heading into the early spring realm of Aries and Taurus. So dialectically speaking, that is all about youthful idealism and the building and developing of things that we find to be luxurious and stable and sensual and enjoyable. And there's like a lot of energy being poured into this kind of new area, right? So, that's the April is the story of all of that, because there's going to be a solar eclipse in Aries and Jupiter and Uranus will come together in Taurus. I think it's so interesting that the first eclipse is actually an eclipse in Libra, the sign of the balance. And it's emphasizing the need to carefully balance oppositions, opposites. And who's its ruler? Exalted Venus in Pisces, co-present with Saturn and Mars. So you just can't escape this sort of considerations that Pisces is absolutely requiring be brought into the kind of youthful idealism of all this Aries and Taurus energy that's about to come forth. The lunar eclipse in Libra may also emphasize that in order for the new things to come, for the breakthroughs to occur, again, signified by Jupiter, Uranus, and Taurus, that we absolutely have to work through complications in relationships. Right? The complications in relationships are who and what are we bound to and obligated to through love, through tenderness, through emotion, through devotion, through compassion. And we may feel as though there are karmic requirements that are somehow pulling us down or back into a space of chaos. And especially at a time where there is so much drive and desire to move forward and to create this kind of breakthrough. But this full moon, the lunar eclipse in Libra says, well, you got to weigh the scales. Things are balancing out, and you're not going to be able to go forward while ignoring something that is pulling back into the chthonic waters. And that is the co-presence of the exaltation ruler Saturn with Venus, the exaltation ruler and the ruler of the eclipse together in Pisces, while Mars, ruler of the other luminary, the Sun, ruler of the Mercury retrograde, ruler of the next eclipse, also in Pisces. So now this Piscean energy, let's just take it forward a little bit beyond the end of the month so you can see when it sort of cleans up. You're going to see that by the time we get to the April 8th eclipse, which is in Aries, that Venus is in Aries, that Jupiter, Uranus are almost coming together in Taurus, and that Mars and Saturn are conjoining in Pisces. Again, the malefics conjoining in Pisces, they suggest that right at the moment where you are just ready to blast off, there is the pullback into those deep oceanic spaces that Pisces implies, and that there is obligation and responsibility and consequential things happening. And you may feel like initially like they're blocking you or prohibiting you, but deal with them maturely, and you'll find that they're actually a major part of what needs to come forth right now, or that they offer some kind of refining influence on the upcoming Jupiter-Uranus dynamic. So I hope you were able to follow that. The main thing when you're looking at an entire month of transits ahead is to try to track out the big story and how all of the big themes likely fit together. But the best thing we can do from here is break down all of these transits one at a time as the month unfolds. So that's what we'll be doing, and they'll make a lot more sense contextually when we are able to study each one. Okay, Venus square Uranus. All right, Mercury conjoined Neptune, Mars square Uranus, the new moon in Pisces, the eclipse. We'll be doing horoscopes for a lot of these. So you hear the kind of big picture story and you just think to yourself, all right, there's a lot of contextualizing that needs to happen as the month goes on, which is why we do an overview followed by breakdowns of individual transits. Okay, well, on that note, I want to invite you to stick around today because at the after I say goodbye and sign off, you will see a little video that features me interviewing Ashley about the Herbal Apprenticeship Program. If you are curious to learn more about spiritual and energetic herbalism, this is a fantastic program that Ashley has led so many people through. She's back after maternity leave. The course starts toward the end of April. So stick around and you'll hear me talking to Ashley today about that program. And I hope you're able to maybe join the program and learn some fantastic things about herbalism. All right. See you again tomorrow. Hey, everyone. Thanks so much for sticking around. I'm really happy to be joined by my wife, Ashley, who is an herbalist. Hi, Ashley.
Hey.
And yeah, I'm really excited to be helping Ashley promote her upcoming program, which is something that you actually began teaching many years ago, this Herbal Apprenticeship Program. I think it was, 2011 or 12 that it got started, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So it's been over 10 years I've been offering this course. And yeah, it's my favorite thing to teach.
Yeah. And just to be clear, because some people on my channel, most people know you because you pop on here or there. We talk about herbs and astrology. There's an attraction in our marriage and an attraction in the subject matter that is old. Like we've been together for, 14 years in our relationship going on. And we've always had a fascination with each other's areas of expertise, and we've done lots of things to marry them together over the years, in addition to literally getting married. And and actually, herbalists and astrologers have married the subjects of herbs and planets together for thousands of years as well. Now, your program is focused on, herbalism. It's not an astrology course, but there is certainly a lot of overlap in terms of the energetics and the spiritual approach to herbalism that you take. And so I was hoping that we could start off just by telling people a little bit about the program. You're coming to this after taking a little bit of time on maternity leave. Our kids were not yet in school. Now they are. You're coming back to work. This is really exciting. The new program launches at the end of April. I'm going to put it up on the screen so people can see it. You can find it at skyhouseherbs.com. Enrollment is open now. The course begins. You go under Courses, Herbal Foundations Apprenticeship at the end of April. Tell us about it.
Well, this course, I guess my goal in redesigning the apprenticeship course that I've been teaching for 10 years is to make it even more personal and to allow people to study the material, digest it at their own pace. So what it's going to be is a combination of kind of three main parts. The first one is the recorded material. So there's going to be modules that will be released and people can listen to them as they have time. The second part are live classes where we will meet live on Zoom and talk about the module, I'll answer questions, I'll give even more information about it. And then the third part is the sacred plant pairings. And so I've always taught the herbal portion, like the plant diets, one at a time, but this year I'm going to do it in pairs because I think you can learn a lot by comparing and contrasting herbs. So for every module, you'll have 2 herbs to study and you'll get a little cheat sheet about them before you start the module. And then you'll have an opportunity to work with those 2 plants and blend them and keep them separate and just really work with them closely. Because my goal is that I want people to be able to find information that they can really use in their own lives, maybe with clients, whether they have a professional herbal practice or maybe they're a therapist in a different field, that they'll know these plants so that they can work with them really comfortably.
I love the different modules that you have just so we can preview them for people. Module 1 is Vitalism and the Heart of Herbalism. Module 2, building your home apothecary. They're so diverse. I love Module 3 is my favorite, plant spirit medicine, energetics and chemistry. You have such a holistic approach. It's what I've always loved about your teaching. You'll teach about the doctrine of signatures. You'll talk to people about how to communicate with plants, how to think of them as teachers that are living beings, that have personalities, that aren't just, phytochemistry or whatever. But you will also teach phytochemistry. And I think that you have this really well-rounded way of helping people be intelligent about the plants, about the body, about the systems of the body, but also not afraid to use energetic systems, not afraid to take something from the kinds of energetics that ancient mystics were working with, whether that's the elements or whether that's, some of the overlay with things like Ayurveda, Chinese medicine. You take what's useful on a symbolic and energetic plane and on a personal connection level with the plants, and you marry it to really smart scientific research. I think that's rare. You don't see that a lot.
Well, thank you for saying that. Yeah, to me, it's all language. They're just different languages that we talk about the same thing. And I think the more diverse our languages as herbalists, the more we can reach more people. And that's kind of my goal. Like, I want everyone to be able to identify plants, use plants. So we need to diversify the languages we speak so we can talk with our physicians, so we can talk with a therapist, we can talk with a mystic, right? We can talk with children, and we have a language that everyone can use.
You talk in the program, in your modules, you have stuff on digestive and gut health. You have stuff on detoxification, colds and flus, and dealing with virus seasons. You talk about tissue states, and you're talking about how to give things to your kids for, helping them maybe at times even relax before bed at night. We use a lot of different things with our kids. I love this, that you have called this I'm going to find the phrase where you use, and I'm going to mess it up. A community herbalist. What is a community herbalist, so that people can understand that definition? Because sometimes people might look at a course like this and think, gosh, unless I go to an accredited university for 8 years and learn all about chemistry, I have no right or business suggesting herbs to people or using herbs. That's just not true. And that's not the history of how folk herbal medicine has been used or taught. So what do you mean when you say community herbalist?
I think you said it perfectly. This is the people's medicine, and our grandmothers and great grandparents used plants as medicine. There's nothing actually that hard about the practice of herbal medicine. It's just getting to know the plants and getting to know the times when they're most useful. I really envision that this course, people can take it and, yes, use it for themselves, number one, because I think a lot changes when we have the personal experience, and then using it in your family, whether that's just, maybe making a tea for your dog, or, if you have kids, or maybe you just have a partner, maybe you have plants you can use, and we'll talk about taking care of a garden, but using it for yourself, for whoever's immediately around you, and then taking it beyond that, because it's likely that at some point you're going to be talking with someone. They're going to say, oh, I've got this digestion thing, and I've tried this and this. And they might say, hey, you're studying herbs. Is there anything that you would recommend? And you know what? You'll probably have a few ideas. And that, you never know how one way that you help someone out there in the world might trickle and then help others and more people. So I think through the self-knowledge and studying this knowledge in your own body, it'll naturally, it's like, impossible for it not to spread out and start to affect the broader community.
Yeah, I think that's really important. This is also for that reason, because we have a vision. I mean, you guys know through my Kickstarter, you guys helped us build a community herbal medicine garden that Ashley's been hosting free and donation-based events out of, that the donations go right back into the garden and just growing the medicine that we then find ways of harvesting and giving to other people, or letting other people come and harvest. We have a vision, we always have, back to the days when we had our yoga studio in Maryland. We have always had a vision of making this sacred knowledge accessible to people. And that is both there in this program in terms of the way you're framing what it means to be an herbalist. It might mean that you're a professional and you see clients, and you could continue beyond this program developing the skills to do that. This would certainly set you up for success. you could also go forward and be someone who uses what you know with friends and family and yourself. And that's an incredible set of tools to have. The program's also very accessible from both a programming standpoint and a price standpoint. I'm going to take you back over and show everybody the programs, the modules are pre-recorded, but then you meet outside of the modules for discussion, community, Q&A, and sort of development and integration. So people can attend those live. If they miss those integration sessions, they can also watch the replays of those. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
anyone could take this at their own rate, as slowly or as quickly as you wanted to, really soak it in, or blaze through it. And, and then we can certainly, beyond this program, as Ashley perhaps makes more advanced programs available as she's easing back in out of maternity leave, can help you with further development or recommend you to many other wonderful programs where you could continue your studies. We want this to be accessible. We want community herbalism to be, as simple as being able to show a friend a couple of yoga stretches. We should be able to show each other herbs, and just, hey, this is a helpful herb to use. Also, accessibility price-wise, we have an early bird enrollment, and we have standard enrollment. And then we have tuition level 1 assistance and tuition assistance level 2, which break out the affordable tuition into different levels of affordability. And you can kind of identify where you're at if you're someone who wants to take this program, but needs to work within your means and not hurt yourself doing it. And then for those who can pay, we ask that you use standard or early bird enrollment. And that's the same thing I do for all my astrology programs. So we try to keep it super, super accessible. The Herbal Apprenticeship program starts April 24th. I know Ashley's super excited to be getting back into teaching too. I also would like to offer Ashley just a chance to tell everyone a little bit about, before we end here this interview, tell everyone maybe a little bit about your own background, who you studied with, what your influences are, and just anything else you want to say before we cap it off.
Ooh, okay. Well, I think, I started off as a kid playing in the woods, mixing perfumes and potions. And then I went on to study environmental science, where I studied organic chemistry and restoring native wetlands. And really from an environmental perspective, that's how I got into herbalism. And then after, I realized after working on the restoration piece and joining a lot of earth advocacy groups, that the problem's not with the earth, but with the people not understanding the value of the earth. So then I started going into holistic medicine. I graduated from the University of North Carolina, Asheville, with a degree in interdisciplinary studies. And I went on to get my that was my undergrad. And then I got my master's from the Maryland University of Integrative Health. It was then called Thai Sophia. But my teachers there, I had such a great blend of teachers, really scientific minds, like Simon Mills from the UK and Kevin Spellman, who is like a chemistry genius. He was also an Ayurvedic practitioner who studied with Dr. Vasant Lad. Matthew Prisco, medicine maker from Galen's Way out in California. So I had a really wonderful, diverse variety of teachers in that 3-year full-time master's level program. And then after that, I went on to study with Matthew Wood pretty intensively because I liked his energetics. I liked the way he spoke about the plants and his personal experience working with low dose, drop dose medicine. And he has had amazing, he's done such amazing work herbally with just using that method. And gosh, I've got a lot of herbalists in my
David
basket.
Duke comes to mind. And,
Jim Duke.
Or Jim Duke, sorry,
Jim
my bad.
Duke, Margie Flint, Rosemary Gladstar is like, I've only done one herb walk with her, but it was amazing. So, I have shelves of herbal books and people who I just adore. Yeah. And yeah, I just feel really grateful that I've had that blend of the science and the energetic herbalism and the traditional herbalist perspective as well. And I try my best to blend them together and to give everyone a really diverse yet integrated herbal studying experience.
Yeah, absolutely. You get that. That is exactly what you'll get if you sign up for Ashley's program, which I encourage you to do. If this is the kind of thing that interests you, you won't regret it. It's a fantastic course with someone I absolutely love, obviously, but also like a really, truly fantastic human being and teacher of
Oh,
plant medicine.
thank
And
you.
if you want to learn more about her, see her work, get to know her a little bit, check out her YouTube channel, Skyhouse Herbs, where she publishes weekly on plant medicine, plant energetics, and also on Instagram, which is Skyhouse Herbs. So the apprenticeship program starts April 24th. I wanted to get Ashley on, brag about her program, turn you guys on to it. Thank you so much for being here. And yeah, I'm sure that we're going to see some people from the Nightlight astrology world getting introduced to you and all of your magic.
I would love that. Thank you.
All right, take it easy, everyone. Bye.